Hi, this is Dr. Anna S.2.E.43, and I want to talk to you today about a really important topic. Just dealing with a difficult person who reminds you of a past trauma can be incredibly traumatic on its own. So today we're going to talk about a great approach called absorb versus absorb approach. So it's observe versus absorb approach to dealing with difficult people. And probably one of the most difficult people that any of us can deal with is somebody who is a narcissist or a sociopath or a psychopath. And we are here today with Ingrid of Show Boundaries, and Ingrid is an expert, both professionally and personally, at dealing with the narcissist in her life. And Ingrid, I'm so glad that we're getting a chance to speak today about your area of expertise and using the observe rather than absorb approach. So first of all, can you tell us a little bit about your definition of the narcissist? And thank you so much for joining us to have this conversation.
Thank you, Anna. Yeah, I think the main thing to remember here is it's not important what kind of diagnosis or psychopathology that you can place on these people, because you can get lost in that trying to put the right diagnosis, and it's easier to just think of traits, that they have the same traits, and all of these things are often comorbid. So it's difficult people that have no empathy and that thrive on conflict. And you will never get your feelings or experience validated. And these people love to stir up havoc and conflict.
Right. And I know that you've had your life stirred up with havoc and conflict with somebody who has no empathy in your own life. And I think that's the basis of a lot of your kind of personal experience that has helped you be the expert that you are.
Yeah. Of course, it makes me more interested in the topic because I'm personally motivated to learn about these things and spread the awareness about it. It's so important to spread the awareness about narcissistic abuse.
Mm-hmm. And can you talk a little bit about how your perspective helped you to grow into the courageous and powerful person that you are today?
Of course, many people watching my videos think that I just deal with my narcissist in a super manner. But of course, when I get emails and I get phone calls with all of these abusive approaches, of course, my whole nervous system gets flustered, and I can feel my heart race and I can start shaking. And my trauma center, the amygdala and stuff, still remembers the trauma connected to this person. But I've practiced to be mindful about it. So when I experience that, I reparent myself. So then I acknowledge that, wow, this was so traumatic for me that today I am still shaking up about it. And I pat myself on the back and say to myself, that's not, could never happen to you. And I nurture myself when I see that experience rather than being all flustered and being carried away about it.
That is such a beautiful thing that you just said, this whole thing about kind of creating this containment vessel for yourself so that you can self-soothe and acknowledge and be self-respectful, increase the bar on self-compassion, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell a little bit about the observe rather than absorb approach that you've been using?
Yeah. I think we should observe on two areas. First, you have to observe the narcissist and learn to recognize the techniques that they use to get you all flustered and emotional, because they feed off that. So if you want to stay immune to their manipulation, their emotional, game playing, then you have to learn to see, oh, this is gaslighting, this is this, and you have to learn all the techniques, but also you have to observe yourself. I think that's the most important part, that you observe what's happening inside of you and you learn to recognize. And as you do, you can recognize that this was so damaging to you that you're all flustered, even maybe many years later. And then you parent yourself. So you nurture yourself and you give yourself compassion for that instead of judging yourself. But it's not like you can do that in just, you can go 180 and do that. You go from being all carried away in post-traumatic stress and then, you know, start nurturing yourself. You know, it's a learning curve and you have to just rehearse and be persistent.
So it's a step-by-step approach. So you
Yes,
might
absolutely.
notice the feelings coming up very rapidly, and you
Yes.
can't really change that because that's the
Mm.
neurophysiology of trauma.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'll happen immediately, and then you notice yourself, you're in the muck now.
Yeah.
And then you've got to just apply that very deliberate approach where you allow yourself to notice, be self-compassionate, and do that beautiful reparenting you were just describing.
Yeah.
You know, that containment that you create, which is
Mm.
wonderful.
And it's important to know that the first times that you try it, not you can't do it until in retrospect. So the first times you will get carried away and you can't help it, and then maybe 1 hour later you can observe it. So you're not able to observe it in the moment the first times that you rehearse it. So you look at it in retrospect and you can say, oh wow, that happened now when this guy came to me and I was so scared. But then you just, if you're diligent and persistent, you will start being able to take that metaphysical perspective in the actual scenario when you're there. And then you can start reparenting yourself while you're in this emotional turmoil.
Fantastic. Anything else that you think that our viewers would find helpful when dealing with that difficult person?
Yes, there is one technique that also needs, you have to rehearse it because in the beginning you will get so emotionally flustered that you're not able to utilize it. But it's called a crack in the CD rehearsal. So when your narcissist is trying to provoke you with, for example, custody cases or dealing with a child, if you just repeat what they just said, you don't give them anything, or you can just say, I hear what you say. So every time they try to provoke you and they attack you verbally, you can just say, I hear you saying that. I hear what you say. And you just keep repeating that, and you don't give them any of your emotions or anything. I find that particularly useful to use that. And then they won't get anything more to manipulate you from. But you have to rehearse it because in the beginning it's extremely difficult because you will get very flustered.
Yeah, these are really important things to be aware of. So, just to recap, first of all, we're dealing with somebody who is, one, emotionally unable to empathize and is very interested in stirring up the muck.
Mm. Yeah.
Two, we want to be able to observe rather than absorb, and then use the crack in the CD like you just explained, and recognize that you can fully use a reparenting approach to create a containment vessel for all these strong emotions. And then four, recognize that you're not going to get it right away. These are things that you have to practice over time. And the idea is that you do not want to add fuel to the fire when you're dealing with that difficult person. Now, Ingrid, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and I want to really highlight those amazing videos that you've put up on YouTube at Show Boundaries, because they add a huge amount to the dialogue about dealing with difficult people, and especially with the narcissist. And I just again want to thank you so much for your time and your ability to do this important work.
Thank you, Anna. It was nice to meet you.
It was great to meet you too, and I hope that we'll have lots of conversations going forward as well.
Yeah, yeah, super. Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
For more Ask Dr. Anna videos and information about post-traumatic growth and recovery, subscribe and like our YouTube videos at What is PTSD, or join us at previous video episodes in our playlist Ask Dr. Anna from the Traumatology Institute team.